All right, 1019. For people over 40, it's time to start the conversation about how to retire. Of course, a lot of people don't know how to do it. Well, to help, we've got the president of Heritage Capital, LLC, Paul Schatz, who has just recently published a short ebook called How to Plan a Bulletproof Retirement During Turbulent Times. Paul, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
Good to see you, Tim. Always a pleasure. Thanks.
Yes. All right. So let's see how much good advice we can pack into the next few minutes. Why don't you start by talking about what you were telling me right before we went on the air, 3 phases of retirement, to not sort of think of it as a straight line. What do you mean by that?
That's right. So whatever age you retire at, 65, 60, 70, too often people think it's like red light, green light. Okay, I'm retired. My retirement's going to go in a straight line until I pass away. I have divided retirement into 3 phases. The first one are the go-go years. Those are the years where whatever travel you're going to do it early and often. You're going to see family. You're going to go on cruises, hopefully. You're going to travel and have fun, go to events. Then the second phase would be the go slow years. You're probably not as in great physical health as you were in the go-go years, but you're still traveling a little bit. You're getting out and about. Your health is still okay, not as good as it was in the first third. The final part of retirement is not the fun part, frankly. It's the no-go years. It's where your health is deteriorating, you have trouble getting out and about, and you're not going to travel and do all the things that you did during the first and second phases. So your spending is going to be different in each of those 3 phases. And that's what I say is not a straight line. Well,
wouldn't the spending in phase 3 on more of healthcare sort of offset any of the travel spending in phase 1?
The quick answer is it all depends on what your resources are to begin with. But certainly your healthcare costs will go up from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3. And your discretionary travel, leisure, more enjoyable expenses will go down as you go from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3. But overall, most people spend the most money in their retirement during their go-go years.
Okay. Let's talk about some of the biggest retirement killers.
Number 1 is definitely inflation. Look, Tim, we have not seen real inflation in 40 years. 1981 was when inflation peaked. It's gone down ever since. There is a very popular misconception that I could just keep my money in insert name, Vanguard, PIMCO, Fidelity bond fund, like many retirees have done for 40 years successfully. The problem is when the inflation genie gets out of the bottle, which I argue she's out right now, and interest rates begin to go up, which long-term rates have, I don't think we're ever going to see the lows we saw 1 year ago in interest rates. So if you own a bond fund and you're living off that, because for 40 years and 30 years and 20 years and 10 years, it's been a cash machine. It's been an ATM for you. Be very careful going forward. I do not think the bond market's going to return what it did previously because inflation's going to slowly and steadily tick up for a long time.
So is this what you're referring to? Because the first big point you made in your ebook, it says, don't forget about defense. Is this what you're referring to? And if not, what do you mean by that?
Yes, and then some. So for playing offense is putting the pedal to the metal, putting 70, 80, 90, 100% of your portfolio in stocks. As you get older, you can't afford to make those mistakes because you don't have time on your side that you once did. So playing defense, if you retired, Tim, in 2000 or 2007, right when the stock market peaked and it immediately went down 50%, and you had a lot of offense there, you got a problem. Conversely, if you retired in 2002 or 3 or 2009 after the market collapsed and you could afford to retire at the bottom of the market, you had a pretty easy retirement. My point is, whenever you retire, there's context to it. You have to have a plan to play some defense. You can't be pedal to the metal in Google, Amazon, Facebook, Netflix, et cetera anymore. As fun as it may sound, you're going to have to ratchet back how much exposure you have to the go-go stocks and to the stuff that's much more aggressive. You're going to need to have a plan for defense if you have a case where the market goes down 50% or interest rates go up significantly.
Lastly, what about filing for Social Security? Is that just something you want to do as soon as possible when you can?
Absolutely not. That's one of the most common, 32 years doing this, that's one of the most common mistakes I get from people. They immediately think when they turn 62, it's my money the government took, I want to get it as quick as possible. It's an absolute must that people complete an analysis, taking money at 62, 67, 70. Every year you do not take Social Security up until age 70, you get an 8% bump year to year in your payout, plus inflation. So typically, the longer you can go without taking it, you're going to get a tax-free rate of return on that of at least 8%. That's the most people have to run those analyses. Don't rely on your friend. Don't rely on some article online. Don't rely on your feelings. Work the data, make sure it makes sense, and please seek help.
What are some of the other quick common mistakes that you see people making? I'm glad that's a big one that you got to there.
Sure. So one is clearly not signing up for Medicare at the right time. And there's all kinds of food chains, but 65 is the year for Medicare. That's one. Your RMD out of your IRAs and 401ks, required minimum distribution, is now bumped from 70.5 to 72. People shouldn't forget that. Catch-up provisions. Once you're age 50, you can add more. And most importantly, I just saw it with the election. I spoke to so many people who came to talk, and they said, I took all my money out of the market because I was worried about the election. You must check your emotions at the door. Markets don't care about how you feel, your thoughts. Markets don't care about where you bought or sold something. So you have to have a prudent plan in place regardless of what outcome lies ahead of you. Don't invest your money. Don't retire emotionally. Do it based on facts and data.
The ebook, How to Plan a Bulletproof Retirement During Turbulent Times. How can people get a copy of that?
It's on our website, investfortomorrow.com. It's the first in what will be a series of ebooks on helping retirees.
All right, Paul Schatz, Heritage Capital LLC. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us again.
Thanks,
we do
Tim.
appreciate it. Good to see you.